Well, good morning, everyone. Good afternoon, depending upon where you are. And I want to take you through this presentation. Just give you a little bit of a heads up. I've been out in market with various partners in various size markets throughout North America over the past year. And we've been doing some in-market seminars. We've been talking to business people. Some days we talk to 300, 400, 500 business people in these different seminars. And the first slide really tells a story about what we're going to do here today. Is we're going to show how to make local businesses care about reputation management. And if I were to say there was an underlying theme to this, also going to show you how to make your salespeople care about reputation management and why that's important. So we're going to start with the fact that we need to paint a picture for the business person that things have changed, and that since the creation of the smartphone, a revolution has occurred with virtually everyone carrying around a personal computer that's more powerful than the computer that put a man on the moon. It has decimated entire industries. It's either forced them to change or they've actually become extinct. And one of the industries that we talk about is the yellow page business and the phone book business, because that's where people used to go to start off how they would contact a business or how they would contact people. And I would submit to you that there are people in your immediate family right now that you don't know their phone number, because we never dial numbers anymore. We actually just search. We either search within our own contact list, or we search on a search engine or a listing site to find what we're looking for. It doesn't matter what it is, a search is being done. And this is leading the charge on it. I was at a convention 2 weeks ago where the Google representative said that they expect on November 15th for mobile search to eclipse desktop search for the first time in the history of mobile. And that's occurred in 7 years-ish. And desktop search took about 25 years to get to the point that it's at. So things are changing very quickly, and a business person needs to understand that these changes have occurred. And we've all seen this. This is very familiar because it happens every day on every street corner, in every office, in every living room. People are on their phone or on their tablet doing things. They're searching, checking their Facebook status, they're watching a YouTube video. Everything's happening upon these devices. We need to teach business people how to play in this game. Because your online reputation is vitally important. Your digital footprint is what you say about yourself or how you want to be seen on the internet. I like to call it the virtual doorway to your business. In the next few minutes, I'm going to show you how to show business people that the virtual doorway to their business is more important than the actual doorway to their business. Because we don't have a hope of getting anyone through the actual doorway of their business if the virtual doorway isn't spotless. If it isn't clean and shiny and looking great. Now, also online, there's another thing we need to be concerned about, and that is a business's digital shadow, and that's what other people are saying about them. And reputation and presence go hand in hand. So we have visibility and we have reputation, and these two things are coupled. A business can have a high visibility, meaning when I search them, I'm able to find them. And I even have some business people that say to me, what is visibility? Well, visibility is what we used to give the phone company, and they would put it in the phone book. And we hope to God that they got it right, because if they didn't, it would take a year to fix it. It would be detrimental to our business, because that's where people went. Well, that same problem can occur if on one of these visibility sources that exist today, you have the wrong information. And the only difference today is there isn't one phone book, there's 50 of them. And they do a lot cooler stuff than the phone book used to do. They have pictures and video, and they have directions, and you can put some of your products and services on there. But essentially, it's the same type of information has to be correct. Your name, address, phone number, website, on Google, Bing, Yahoo, all the directory sites, review sites, Facebook, Twitter, all that information needs to be correct. Because as a consumer, that's where we're going to connect with business people. We're going to those various search engines, review sites, directory sites, and social sites to connect. So I can have a high visibility, meaning I have all that information correct. But if I have a negative reputation, that's where it stops. And the bad news for a business person is that when somebody does a search, so let's say a business runs a traditional ad. They run a newspaper ad, and they create top-of-mind awareness. And there is no doubt in my mind, if I'm going to buy a car, I am going to call the folks at Jubilee Ford, because they've done a great job of building their brand through traditional advertising. And when I do the search for Jubilee Ford, because why would I remember a phone number? I don't remember my daughter's number, much less a car dealer's number. If I find a negative reputation there, I'm just going to go to the next guy on the list, because guess what? When I search car dealer in my local market, I got a list of them. Anybody that sells cars came up. So it's very easy for me, if there's negative reviews at the car dealer I was thinking about, I can just check the others. So that's why that virtual doorway needs to be so clean and needs to be pristine, in fact, for you to start earning business. So visibility and reputation are connected. If you've got good visibility, bad reputation, it ends. We see that as a scam. We move on to the next guy. If you've got good reputation, but your visibility is broken, meaning you have an old address from 5 years ago, or you have the wrong phone number posted online, that's where it could stop too. So we need to have high visibility coupled with a positive reputation to start winning business. And the fact is, folks, consumers are controlling conversations. We trust the user-generated content from TripAdvisor when we're booking a hotel room. So when John C. from Fort Myers, Florida, talks about a hotel room in Chicago, Illinois, and I'm going to book that hotel room, I trust John C. over any TV ad I've ever seen. And we have data to back that up. People have said that they trust user-generated content more than they trust traditional advertising. That's why so many people are using reviews to buy things today. This is the world we live in. This is not changing. It's just becoming more important. I had a person ask me the other day, are we in our infancy in this industry of online reputation management? And we really are. We're just getting started. TripAdvisor, 4 years ago, the guy was running it out of the roof of his garage. And now it's a $3 billion company. And TripAdvisor's reviews grow by 30% a month. They were the cover story in the Wall Street Journal about 20 some odd days ago. That's where I got that information from. It was very telling of what this industry is all about. There's never going to be less online content than there is today. There's just going to be more, and it's going to be more important to businesses to play in this arena. We're going to focus on listing and visibility, reviews and mentions. We might touch a little bit on competition and maybe some social marketing and why these are important to businesses. This is the world that we live in today when it comes to listings. A lot of these people are the old Yellow Page guys trying to reinvent their business as a listing company. The arrows, I didn't put those in there just to make it more confusing. I put those in there because those arrows dictate where people talk to each other from. That's where they're sharing information on their listings. It's crazy. And a wrong listing in one place could get pushed to multiple other places. That's why we need to claim our listings. We need to claim our listings against this infrastructure that exists, but we also need to claim our listings against rogue listings that could be created by just any old person could create a Facebook account, and our business could be listed, and they could start putting negative stuff there. We need to know if that's there, and we need to know how to fix it. So we're going to help a business make sure they're listed where they need to be. We're going to make sure they can get rid of rogue listings, and we need to make sure that those listings are accurate. It's vitally important to the lifeblood of a business. Visibility is about three things. We're going to monitor and identify listing issues versus anchor data. Anchor data is what you put on your business card. It's how you want to be seen as a business. It's what we used to give the phone companies. We're going to monitor that against listing sources. So let's go look at some of the listing sources that we're monitoring. I'm just going to let a few more people into our meeting here that are a little late joining.
Get the code.
Let's go look at, it's going to take you into a client and show you how we would present this to a customer. When it comes to listing and why it's listing sources and why they're important. So I have a client that I've been doing some work with directly through a partner in Las Vegas, Nevada, called LASIK of Nevada. When they came to us, They had some visibility issues. We've been able to go in and clean some of them up. And we're going to talk to the client about why visibility is important. So we take them into our sales tool account, and I don't like to go too deep into the be-all and end-all as to how all this is done. I just like to take them into the deliverables that we can deliver for the business. This is how they work. This is what we found online. They are found and accurate on one site. They're found with possible errors on 20. They're missing on 7. And we're going to go through and we're going to show them the issues that they have. Here on Health Grades, they don't have a listing. Lots of other people have listings in Las Vegas, but not them. Yellow Book, you got a bit of an issue around their suite number. Nothing too serious. Found a Twitter listing. So that's visibility. Typically, when we log a client in for the first time when we're prospecting, we'll get a 20%, 30%. We have to go in and claim a bunch of listings. We've got to improve some listings. And we need to make sure that there's consistency amongst these listings, because the consistency amongst those listings are going to help them in this thing. And when people talk about the first page of Google, they're not talking about the actual first page of Google, because all that matters to are major companies like Samsung and Apple and Ford Motor Company and Chrysler. They care about the first page of Google. What people care about in local business is when we do a search in Charlotte for hair salons. If I can spell, that would help. We're going to get what I like to call the magic 7, and here they are. And we get a map, and we get some flags over where these 7 best ranked places are, and a business person will say to me, that's where I want to be. That's the local search. That's important to me. Now, how do I get there? Well, it's 3 reasons why a business would get on the local search, on the magic 7 of Google, and that would be the consistency of their listings across these wide array of sources, and the fact that they have a Google Plus page and they have some Google reviews. So Fresh Salon's doing really well with 18 Google reviews. Virtue's got 23 Google reviews, and you see how Google has kind of changed this a little bit. Reviews now, they're a different color. They're coming up, when I hold my mouse here, they're going to come up on the right-hand side. Now it's big. You can just click here and see 23 reviews. That's why these reviews are so important. Oh, in fact, more reviews? Here's some more reviews about that business. Because people are searching for reviews to make buying decisions. So we need to take a client in, I don't care what vertical it is, load them into the system and show them the local search for their marketplace. And it's going to make their eyes light up, because they know people are searching. And where do they show up here? And if we can give them some deliverables on how we can help them with this, we're going to go a long ways to helping the business person. So, consistency of visibility improves your Google Places rank. And just so you know, the Google Places rank is ranked a couple different ways now. We have this magic 7 in some verticals, but if we in Charlotte were to do restaurants, we're going to get we're still going to get the magic 7, because I think I don't know if it's in all markets yet, but if we were to do New York, and I noticed this when I was there last week, there's a slider that's coming up. And I'm still not getting it in this, but there's a slider across the top. So maybe try it in your market just so you know, but this slider is starting to come where they've got 20 restaurants on a slider with pictures across the top of the page. I don't know why mine isn't showing that right now. It might be because I'm not in the marketplace. But just so you're aware, there's a couple different ways that Google Places rank is shaking out. The first, restaurants and hotels, they've got the slider. In other verticals, they've got the magic 7. And you need to be able to inform your client why those are important to them. So under visibility, there's one final item I like to talk about when I'm doing a presentation, and that is review sites are key visibility sources for online businesses. Now, we can't get you any reviews if you're not listed properly on the review site. So if you're not listed on Google Plus, for these various review sites, it's going to be pretty tough for us to get you some online reviews. So that's the third item that's very important when it comes to visibility. And accurate listings make customers happy and Google happy. The more consistent your listings, the higher up in Google you will appear. So very important to a business. Let's talk a little bit about reviews. But before we do that, I'd like to stop after visibility and just ask if there's any questions. on what we've talked about thus far?
This is Richard in Fort Worth. Can you hear me?
Hi, Richard.
Yes, my desktop is just not. I can see the very first page when you started the meeting, but nothing's moving. I'm not seeing you go through the slides.
Oh, I'm sorry, Richard. If you want to just reset that, just log out and log back in. It may help.
Log out and log back in. Okay.
And
I'll do that.
And I'm recording this, so we will share out the recording afterwards. So I've recorded everything that's being said.
All right. Thank you.
So let's talk about reviews, if there aren't any other questions. This is a pretty important piece right here. There's three things that we find in reviews for a business. They either have no reviews, and that's bad, because 90% of U.S. consumers say buying decisions are influenced by online reviews. And when we go to these searches, we see that when we hold our map button over, we hold our mouse over here, we see what the UI and Google is doing to reviews. They're vitally important. Sorry, I'm just trying to get this to work. I'm just letting a few more people join in at the same time. So when we click on, when we hover over Cipriani, it's going to come over here on the right-hand side, and you'll see that the reviews are getting more and more important. In fact, reviews are bigger than the address, if you notice that. So just so that your client understands how important these online reviews are to his business. And a business should know where those reviews came from and how to handle them. And there's 3 steps to review success I'd like to talk about when we're in market with seminars or we're doing 4-legged calls with reps. The first is engaging the reviewer. Why engage? And I say to clients when they ask that question, why do I need to get involved in this? Well, what would you do if someone was reviewing you in your store right now live? Would you just turn and walk away from them? Of course you wouldn't. You wouldn't ignore him live, so why would you ignore him in an arena where 20,000 people could be watching your Yelp page, watching you ignore your customers? You need to get online and tell your side of the story. You need to do a couple things. You need to thank the people that have went out of their way to say you did a great job, because those are your very best customers. They're your brand evangelists. They love your business, and they took time out of their day to write a positive review on one of the review sites. Number 2, on a negative review, you need to get in the game. You need to get online and say, I'm sorry that you had that issue. My name is George. I own the place. Here's our number. Give the switchboard a call and get the call put through to me so that we can deal with this. Now, getting the person to call you from online, to call you at the store, pretty important, because it mirrors what you would do if someone was reviewing you in your store. So if someone was in your store yelling and screaming, saying that you made a mistake and everything else, what would you do? Would you deal with it in front of 5 other customers? You'd take them in your office, and you would say, sorry you had this bad experience. Let's go in my office and see if we can work this out. You would take them in a quiet room to discuss it. Same thing online. When we're dealing with a negative reviewer online, we want to position it, give me a call at the store so that we can take it offline into a quiet room, and that quiet room being on the phone, and we can deal with the problem. And when we deal with the problem, we have the opportunity for what I call the holy grail of review management. When we deal with that customer that wasn't happy, we solve the problem. At the end of it, we say, did I solve the problem, sir? They say yes. You say, would you do me a favor? If I've taken care of all your concerns, would you please remove the negative review? And that's the ultimate. That's what we want to have happen. Tell our side of the story so that we tell other customers we don't ignore our clientele. And then number 2, we ask to have that review removed. And if he does so, that happens to be the only person who can remove a negative review, is the person that posted it, or a lawyer that can prove that it's slander, and you got to spend a lot of money to get that done. So really there's 2. But the real person who can remove a negative review is the person that posted it. So under engage, when I'm talking to the client about engaging the reviewer, I always like to talk about that. Hey, the ultimate is we might be able to get that negative review taken down. Then let's skip over to number 3 on the right-hand side of the page. We talk about harvesting user-generated content. I love that term, UGC, user-generated content. It's a technical term. Clients know what this stuff is, they just don't know it by that term. The positive reviews that are online are word of mouth. And in the years that I've been selling media, which I will tell you is way more than 25, clients have been saying to me for all that time, I wish I could buy word of mouth advertising. Well, guess what? Now you can. Because these positive reviews that we find with the software for a business are just that, positive word of mouth. And Lathic of Nevada has lots of it. And this is gold. We need to take that positive word of mouth, like Richard B., who just shopped with us on July 11th, and share it out. And with the click of a button in the software, we can share it out across our Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn pages. And we can schedule when we want to send that out for maximum effectiveness. Very important. And when you start talking to a customer about word of mouth, reviews, what are they? Well, that's word of mouth. He goes, oh, that's important. Word of mouth? I've been trying to figure that stuff out for years. So it's interesting when you bring that up in a room full of people, when we're doing these seminars, and you see the reaction to these various comments. And that's where this intel that I'm giving you today is coming from. It's intel as to how to get the client fired up about what we're talking about, but I'm also going to give you a little bit of intel about how to get your sales reps fired up about it as well. Because every single day those sales reps are going out and they're hearing from their clients, oh, my ads didn't work the way they were supposed to. I was expecting the phone to ring. I was expecting to get traffic out of that. Well, you pull a visibility report and an initial review report, and you find out that their phone number is wrong across 11 sources. They've got an old address that they used to live at 3 years ago. And the fact that they have negative reviews, it's no wonder your traditional advertising isn't working properly. We need to clean up the virtual doorway to your business, because that's where people are going before they come there. Even if they read the ad in the paper, they hear it on radio, they see it on TV, they see it on the internet, they're going to search you. Because we have that data right here that shows that 90% of U.S. consumers say buying decisions are influenced by online reviews. So I like to remind the sales reps that this piece of the puzzle, when it comes to digital, and there's a lot of pieces of digital, but reputation intelligence is vital for a business. And sales managers tell me, well, where should I go to sell reputation intelligence? Well, I would just start on one end of the street and walk up and go down the other, because if you have a physical address, you need this product. You need to make sure your listings are correct, and you need to manage your reviews. So let's talk about the middle item when it comes to reviews being management tools. I've been barking about this on webinars and in seminars for the past year, because for a number of years I was involved in the restaurant, nightclub, bar business, and we used to serve customers. And I had 500 and some odd staff working for me in 8 locations, and I was actually in 2 countries. And one of the things that kept me awake at night was wondering if my staff were delivering on the policies that I had set out in my policy manuals. I had no idea. I just had to trust that the managers were training them properly. But with a tool like this, I would be able to get the reviews delivered to me without having to log into a whole bunch of sites, because nobody wants to do that. That's a pain. That's a time waster. I want to get those reviews because it would show me the staff members that were doing things right. So then I could train my managers in their meetings to say, here's a 5-star review. Look at the things they talked about. Those are the things that in our policy manual say we want to do when we're treating customers, and you want to bring that up so that the staff get that. And I'd like to set goals based on those good reviews, saying, it'd be great if the service department could get some 5-star reviews this month. So you guys, start talking to your customers and doing a better job. And bad reviews highlight staff that require more training and policy issues. So I was pretty excited it was last week actually, I was watching Spike TV, and John Tapper's got that great show called Bar Rescue, where he goes around and fixes all the bad bars in the United States. He's got a lot of them that he needs to work on, but he's doing a great job. And him and his wife were doing the initial intel on a bar they were going to fix. And I hadn't witnessed this when watching this show in the past. And his fabulous wife reaches in the briefcase and pulls out a stack of papers, and guess what it was? It was all of their Yelp and Google Plus reviews. And they started reading through them because it was giving them intel as to how the management and the ownership were dealing with the customers. So this information right here in the center of this deck, thinking of reviews as management tools, is really important when we're talking to our reps. They need to teach the client that this is one of the deliverables of this tool. And I'm going to show you why it's so important. No one wants to log into a whole bunch of sites to find this information. So on LASIK of Nevada, they got 25 reviews. It's not a lot, but it's a few. It's coming from 4 different sources, though. And I don't think Dr. Rothman, who owns LASIK of Nevada, has time to log into Google+, Merchant Circle, Yellow Pages, and Yelp every day to find out what's being said about him. Not to mention all of the other sites that we monitor, but this is where his reviews are coming from. We can make a case that there is no way they're going to log into those sites every day. And the good news is if they subscribe to our service, they don't have to log into a site ever again. Because we're just going to deliver those reports to them. We're going to log in 6 email addresses of key individuals that the business owner wants to deliver that to. We're going to turn on reviews. We're going to turn on very positive and very negative mentions. And it's just going to send it out the very next day. The client doesn't need to know how to log into any software or do anything. All he or she needs to know how to do is answer their email. And they can start sharing in this bonanza of information about their business from these reviews to help them manage it better. And I would submit to you that business people spend about 5% of their day thinking about marketing, and they spend 95% of their day thinking about how to manage their business better and make more money. So when you present this product to them this way, you're going to help them run their business better, and they very much appreciate it. We know that in the last month, we had hundreds of thousands of these emails sent out to our hundreds of thousands of businesses in the system. So you can imagine if an average of, we have 3 email addresses for a couple 100,000 businesses, that's 600,000 emails that were sent out. If they each get 1 review or 2 reviews, 75% of those were opened in the system. That's a huge engagement rate in our industry. So we know that this is one of the key deliverables. And I want to leave you with one other thing that just came up 2 days ago. I was in a presentation. I want to show you this screenshot. It's a client out of Philadelphia that I'm working with, Xfinity Live. Was working with the 2 marketing people there. Xfinity Live is in the center of the Phillies Stadium, the Eagles Stadium, and the Spectrum where the Flyers play, and it's a 9-venue entertainment spot. The company that owns it has 18 of these around the U.S. And we're showing them how our product can help them do a better job of the work that they have to do. They have 2 Facebook listings. When you go to search them based on their address, and this is what we would call a rogue listing. And they had sent this person a cease and desist order 6 months ago, and it's still there. So one of the things I've come across from people who have been selling reputation intelligence for a while is this whole visibility thing. So we have visibility as an issue, and we're going to start out of the gate, and we're going to fix visibility. But the one thing we want to do after we have it fixed, so we go through and we fix all the visibility sources, the one thing we want to do is turn this on. Because then if anything in our visibility changes, we're going to get a daily alert. So imagine if someone created one of these so-called rogue Facebook accounts or a rogue Google Plus account, which is pointing our customers to a different location. The software is going to notify them the very next day before it can do any damage, and we can get a hold of Facebook and get that thing taken down. And this was not set up by the people who run that company. I asked them that question. This was set up by somebody else. And they're utilizing their website. They're utilizing everything. Maybe not the phone number, but they're using the address. So you can see where that might be a detriment. And I think that when you're talking to some people and you say, have you ever had an instance where you enter into a map, a business, and it gives you three locations for it, and you know that it only has 1. This is one of those types of listings. So if you're looking for a deliverable on visibility after we've fixed it, it's not this finite thing that just stops being an issue. Not to mention the fact that the visibility sources could overwrite your data. So they could overwrite your data with that old data that we went in and fixed. But the other issue is keeping an eye out for these listings right here that may come up. Sorry, I just lost that slide. There it is right there. Where this is an issue that we need to keep in mind. So I just wanted to share that with you. That's something that's not brand new, but it's something that had just come up in a presentation the other day, and it gave me a little bit more intelligence that I want to pass on to you when you're presenting that. I always like to leave customers when I'm leaving the review space of the presentation with this. 95% of unhappy customers will return if an issue is resolved quickly and efficiently. Not all of those people that are on reviews are just people that like to watch the world burn and complain about everything. It's actually legit people like you and me that have concerns. We just couldn't find somebody to deal with it when we were there, so we're venting. And we just want the problem solved. I'd like to leave this with business people, this 95% of unhappy customer piece, because it shows them that there is method to their madness by entering into this world and dealing with these things. So I'm going to open the floor up again. Are there any questions around reviews?
Yeah, this is Cherie. Can you hear me?
Yes, Cherie.
If I am a consumer and I post a negative review, the business owner comes in and posts a response to my negative review. Will I be notified that the owner has responded to my negative review?
I've never had an owner respond to one of my negative reviews, so I can't give you an answer to that question right now, but I will research that and get you an answer.
Great. Thank you very much.
That's a great question. And let me do a little research on that. So there's three issues when it comes to online reviews. There's one final thing I want to leave you on in this whole review arena. There's three scenarios. The first is I have no reviews, and that affects my Google Places rank. The second is I have negative reviews, and that affects the fact that nobody's going to do business with me because I've got this negative reputation online. I'm just going to go to the next guy on the list. The third item is I have lots of reviews. So I want to give you a bit of a way that we can deal with the first two items. Where you have negative, we need to get some positive on there. Or if you have no reviews, we need to get you some reviews. So by fixing visibility and making sure you're listed correctly on the review sites, that's a big part of it. The second part of it has absolutely nothing to do with software. It has to do with a postcard. And we are using this in markets all over the U.S. And, you know, when I talk to my directors of sales on my Friday calls, they go, this postcard thing is so simple. I can't believe nobody thought of it before this. So the first thing we do is we fix the Google Plus and we fix the Yelp profile. So we have the correct URLs for people to log into. We want to make it as simple as possible for someone to post a review about us. The second thing we do with the business is we have a meeting with the staff. And we tell them how important online reviews are to the lifeblood of the business. We tell them things about this. 90% of U.S. consumers say buying decisions influenced by online reviews. We tell the staff that it's affecting their income as well if they don't buy into this whole review thing. And we give them this card, and it's a very simple process. It's thank you, how did we do? We are striving for 100% customer satisfaction. If we did not achieve this, meaning Sandra and our team, call me, the owner, Nancy, right here. And here's my phone number. Call me. I want to know. If we did achieve the goal, please leave us a review with the name of your server, your customer service person, your service writer at the car dealership, the guy that laid your carpeting. Put his name in there. Because we're going to pay a bonus on that. On the staff member that's done a good job and got the most 5-star reviews. And please leave it here on Google and Yelp. So this postcard accomplishes a couple things. If you just take a tablet and hand it around in your showroom on Customer Appreciation Day at a car dealership, and you go from having 15 reviews to having 150 reviews, Google Plus and Yelp are going to say, we're filtering that. Because all those reviews came in 24 hours from one IP address. So what we want the client to do, the customer, is to take that postcard home and post this organically so that we get a couple of reviews every couple of days or a couple every week. So it doesn't look like we're pushing a whole bunch of reviews that way. We got our staff to write a review or something like that. The other thing that it does is we're only going to put the URLs on here of review sites that we need help on. Because if we've got positive reviews on Google+, why wouldn't we push the review to a place where we don't have positive? So when we do this filtering, and you can do this live in front of the client with a laptop. I've also done it with just a screenshot. And we go to Merchant Circle, and we see that, that's all positive, so we don't need to put Merchant Circle on there. Yellow Pages, no, that's all positive. Which ones are we going to put on there? We better put Yelp on there and get a few more on there, but it's Google Plus where we've got some negatives. So So that's where we're going to find the site. This is where he needs the most help. He's got 6-2 here. So let's get some more positive reviews on Google+. It also is one of the biggest out there. So that's what this postcard does. And what we have media companies doing when they make the presentation, they include 500 postcards in the deal. Because we know that if we give the client the idea, he's not going to do it. We've got to spoon feed it to him. So they're printing 500 of these and including it as part of the package. So are there any questions on this handout to solicit reviews?
So George, earlier you'd mentioned there's a lot of folks that they try to do it at the place of business, and they put together an iPad and have those folks not do it. And you mentioned how these different sites out there will kind of scrape that and see it's coming from one IP, even if it's coming from different users that have different Yelp or Google Plus accounts, that they would just eliminate those reviews because it's coming from the same IP address? Is that what you alluded to earlier?
Yeah, the IP address is what highlights in their algorithm that they're not authentic. There's no way that a business goes from 10 reviews to 100 reviews in a day. It just doesn't happen. So, I've had customers say to me, "Oh, we're just going to hand a tablet around next Friday when it's Customer Appreciation Day." Well, don't do that. That's not. You want to have this done from the person's house, and it's not just that. It's not just getting reviews over the next week or two. It's getting Sandra and all the Sandras and all the Georges and all the Orlandos in your organization to buy into the fact that we need to be thinking about online reviews. We need to get more of them because it's hurting our business to just have a negative reputation. So, in addition to that, we need to do a better job of taking care of our customers. The management piece and this piece, when you start talking to the business person about how you can give them some ideas as to run their business a little better and to solve one of their big problems, which is customer service and their online, they really buy into that and they really appreciate it because it's something that's weighing on them. I had a car dealer that we're doing a case study for with 14 dealerships. And this is a large advertiser in the marketplace that we're dealing with, probably the biggest in the marketplace. And they had like 6 reviews on their car dealership page, and they were all negative. And they didn't have a Google Plus profile. And this is one of the biggest advertisers in the marketplace. So just because someone's a big advertiser in the marketplace and they make a lot of noise in traditional media doesn't mean that they have this side of their business nailed down. And when we showed them the solutions that we were going to give them, I presented to the dealer principal, and then I presented to all of his 14 general managers and assistant managers. They were in awe of what we were going to be able to do to help them. So, those kinds of presentations are the ones that we want to be on. I want to be helping business people, and I've tried to distill this down to give them some deliverables. When you say to a client, "Oh, you're going to have to learn how to log in here, and you're going to have to know how to do this," and they go, "Oh, hang on a second, I don't want to have to learn how to do anything." That's where talking about these deliverables are the key. Now, I want to mention a couple things. I would stop right there on my presentation for reputation intelligence because there is enough value and visibility and reviews and the daily alerts to close the deal. And I've seen it time in and time out. When we start talking to a sales team and we go too deep into it, their heads just start to spin. So these 3 things, visibility, there's 3 items there that I talked about. Reviews, there's the 3 items there. And then the deliverables of the alerts, you could stop right there. And then we can come in a second session and talk about mentions and the fact that we can monitor employees and we can do some competition monitoring. So I'm just going to touch on that right now, but I will tell you when you're training sales teams, I try to break this up into a couple different sessions because you want to let this visibility review and alert thing marinate a little bit and then come back to them at a second time. Like we've been on the call now for 40 some odd minutes, and that's way longer than I normally do, but I want to leave you with a bunch of deliverables that we've used in the field. They're tried, tested, and true, and I also want to touch on the landing page piece as well. And I've recorded this, so if you want to go back and just break it up for your teams, you can do so. So let's talk about mentions. And these mention search is very important because there's a whole bunch of other things that are said on the internet. There's review sites, and And those are, we know where those are. They're on the map. We know where the review sites are. But what about everything else? What about social media? What about all the nooks and crannies of the internet? And that's where we scrape and dig and find that information. Things about Dr. Rothman, things about LASIK of Nevada, and we deliver them here in this tab under blogs, Twitter, Facebook, any images that have come up, or any news stories. And you can set up as many of these as you want, and it may take a little bit of time to tweak them to get that information. You can put them around a sales event. You can put them around a special event of the business. I've got an orchestra that uses it. So every time the orchestra plays, and they'll play an event, and it'll have a name, they will enter that name in there, and they'll see what people talked about online. So the next item is social. And there really is one deliverable in social, and that is the fact that you can monitor your employees. We can add an employee Twitter handle in, and the owner will say, well, what if he doesn't want to give it to you? Well, it's pretty easy to find. Just search his name, because Twitter is not locked down. It's not private. You can put some privacy settings on it now, but nobody does it. And you can find their URLs and you can put them in the system. And I have lots of businesses that are doing this, and they love it. Then they can come down here into activity, and they can filter it by employees of the business and see what's being said. We can also see some of our social posts in one dashboard as well. And then competition. I want to talk a little bit about competition. It's an online share of voice search for the last 30 days based on keyword. So these are some keywords that are important to that business. And we can see how we shake out against our main competitor, Welsh Vision Institute. And some new functionality in the tool in the last couple of months is the ability to log in their Facebook, Twitter, and Foursquare of your competitor and see how you stack up against that. So they don't have Welsh Vision Institute logged in here. I don't know if they have a page or not, but very easy to do. You just go in here under Edit Services and Competitors. We've got LASIK of Nevada. And we go in here and we add the competitors. And we just copy and paste off Facebook, Twitter, Foursquare, save them, and then we'll start to get that information. And keep in mind, the reports have two different functions. The first is the daily alerts, where we can turn on all activity in the tool, but we choose to turn on reviews, very positive and very negative mentions. I would suggest to you turn on changes of visibility once that's fixed. And then also we have the executive reports that can be sent out weekly, monthly, or you can hold them within the system. And here they are right here. I suggest turning these things on weekly. I like the fact of sending something to my customer every week with my logo on it. Whether he opens it and pays attention to it or not, I don't know. But I'm telling you right now, the more deliverables we can have to a client, it supports that bill that we send them at the end of the month. So that's a bit of a wrap on reputation. Are there any questions on that? Perfect. I'm going to take a quick drive through the landing pages. Here's a couple slides that you can use when you're doing presentation. 2005, St. Peter's Square, the Pope's getting sworn in. This is before smartphones really got going. That's what that same picture looked like earlier this year, and everybody's got a phone. Mobile is taking over. I think it's pretty obvious, but I like to use those two graphics just to show business people how important it is. I'm going to take you through the landing page piece. Just blow this up a bit so you can see it better. And what are people willing to give up to keep their smartphones? Some interesting things here. Most small business sites are not built for today's devices. You know, an interesting comment I heard the other day at a convention was 80% of U.S. businesses either don't have a website or have a website they hate because they had it built 4 years ago. They can't even get a hold of the guy that built it. They don't want to pay a new guy $2,000 to change their phone number. Build mobile first. Mobile web design obviously isn't a niche. We need to be building something like this for our clients. It's not an app, because then you've got to load an app from 4 different people. You got to load the Microsoft app, the Apple app, the Android app, the BlackBerry app. That doesn't work. We want to have something that just works on all devices, and that's what this does. And it's got a couple neat deliverables. It's got the call button and the map button, because if I'm 5 blocks away from Wilkinson's restaurant. I just want to call them, or I want to push the map and see where they are. I might want to check their hours of operation because it's late at night and maybe they're not open. Sites that use responsive design, so important. If you do not have a responsive design website on your mobile, a customer logging into that site is 5 times more likely to leave it. We offer an option of do-it-yourself fulfillment. So this goes back to that 80% of business people hate their websites. They don't understand why it costs $500 to change the tagline or the announcement or the phone number or the hours of operation. And it shouldn't. With our solution, we give them a login, they can come in and change it. It's really simple to do. Oh, hang on, I've stalled out. Bear with me one moment. The second option is you can outsource that fulfillment to us, where we will create a landing page for $35 or a micro full site for $99. And the advertiser can use the do-it-yourself dashboard for unlimited control. Your site will be live within 3 business days, and then the advertiser can come in here to have control over it. Includes localized domain name, QR code, SEO optimized with keywords, and it also comes with reporting and analytics. This is an example of a landing site. That's how it looks in the desktop, tablet, and mobile. This is a microsite with the do-it-yourself dashboard. Again, across all 3. And then a full website with the 10 pages on a tablet and mobile with the do-it-yourself dashboard. So this is what it looked like before, where I'm pinching and grabbing and all over the place. And this is what it looks like after. Push to call, map buttons, a great layout, and a very familiar navigation design. And these are the statistics.
And you have to go find them.
How many times people touched all these buttons? So that's the details on the landing site. There's some information. Nathan looks after those in our department. And open up the floor for any questions. I just want to throw out my LinkedIn profile. If you want to connect with me on LinkedIn, I try to post quite a bit of intelligence from if I'm on the road doing seminars and I've heard a great comment from a business person or, we've dealt with an objection. I'll share that stuff out here. So feel free to connect. Does anyone have any questions?
We have a question from Kansas City.
On the landing pages for the desktop in the past, we've had 5 different templates. And I was wondering if we have broadened the selection of templates, and are the templates the same for the desktop and the mobile? Or are they different?
Yes. So the templates have been changed and upgraded quite a bit from that deck that he prepared. So we can do some additional looks to it by putting some different background pictures and things like that in there. And you can have a different background picture on the desktop than you have on the mobile.
Oh, okay. Thank you. That answers my question.
Hey, Orlando, it's Will in Kansas City. We had another question. On that fee, that 35 and I think it was 55, is that a monthly charge or a one-time fee?
I believe that was there for that presentation. Quite honestly, that's a retail fee. It's whatever you folks are charging. There's ability of doing those 3, but some markets are really doing just the landing page and a microsite up to the 10 pages. Those were all retail fees. George, I don't know the actual wholesale. I believe it's $5 regardless, and that's something that is really managed by the management team.
Okay, great. Thanks.
Folks, any additional questions? Seems like we don't have any other questions. So, George, we appreciate your time. And, again, if you have any questions, feel free to reach myself or your local digital sales development manager. And we will be sending a recap as well as the 2 decks. And once the recorded is finalized, we'll send the recorded version as well.